The only person who benefits from that is President Putin. I think that it is inappropriate to conduct that kind of disagreement in front of cameras. I thought it was quite an extraordinary press conference, and we all need to remember that President Zelensky is a hero. He represents the Ukrainian people's strength and their resistance to an authoritarian regime that is trying to destroy them. He needs all of the support that he can get. And I think that it is inappropriate to conduct that kind of disagreement in front of cameras.
It doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America and for the good of the world. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way, so that's the way it goes.
We had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war,
you're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
The only person who benefits from that is President Putin. Prime Minister and I are united in our support for Ukraine. Ukraine is fighting a war on behalf of the whole of Europe, and what we need to do now is look at how we can help them in the immediate term and also in the longer term. We need to make sure that we continue to work with both our allies, both Ukraine and the US. We may disagree with the US on what happened yesterday, but what is important now is how we move on from what happened yesterday. Of course, the US is still an ally to the UK and Europe, and just because we may have disagreements on an approach does not mean that we stop being allies. And we need to move away from any sort of rhetoric that splits Europe and the US, because that is only going to benefit Vladimir Putin. I think it's important to remember the situation that President Zelensky is in. There are air raid sirens, currently ringing in Ukraine. What he needs is support. And right now, what we should be doing is looking at how we can help, whether with using some of those frozen Russian assets. I think it's time to start looking at how we can use that money to support Ukraine. Perhaps we should be looking at a minerals deal on the European side. Let's improve the procurement. What I expect the Prime Minister to do is speak to Germany about doing what we did with Storm Shadow missiles with Taurus, for example. Let's do concrete things right now that are going to help Ukraine, rather than criticizing them for whether or not they said thank you or not. These are very serious questions that the Prime Minister is going to need to think about, and we're prepared to support him at a cross-party level to do what is right in the national interest. We should not be doing anything that is against UK national interest. Our national interest right now is being a bridge between the US and Europe, creating a strong NATO.